Hey guys, welcome to the Scholar Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. If you're new to the channel and if you haven't subscribed yet, please click on the subscribe button at the bottom of the video that you're watching right now. It's that red button over there. Just click on it and turn on the notifications so that you'll be notified every time we produce a new video on this channel. We generally produce new videos on a Wednesday and on a Saturday, and sometimes only once a week. It depends really. Sometimes our videos are very long and we then only produce one video a week instead of two. All right. And if you're new to our channel as well, we always make sure that we give you all the information that you need to follow along with the videos that we produce. So at the bottom of the video, right next to where the description should be, there is a button over there that says shows more. You can click on it and it's going to expand the description. Okay. So if we discuss about, a link or, something that was, I say to you, I'm going to link it in the description below. You're going to find that link over there. All right. And for every video that we make as well, we have timestamps to help you navigate through our content a little bit better. As you can see, a lot of our videos are very, very long because we explain all of our concepts in great detail. Okay. So instead of watching the entire 3-hour video, you can just read through the timestamp and figure out which part of the video you want to see. Of course, you're welcome to watch the entire video, but if, for example, you're coming back and you wanted to remind yourself of something, you can use the timestamp. Okay. The way that timestamps work is if, for example, you want to, figure out, oh, this is how I want to do a tweet with an image, just click on the timestamp over there and it's going to fast forward and take you to that section that is talking about that. Okay. So this helps you navigate through the videos that we're making. Okay. You don't have to watch the entire video. Okay. So on the description as well, we will have links to our YouTube, Instagram, and all of that, so feel free to follow us on social media so that, you can learn more about a Scholar Online. All right. So in this video today, I think we're going to bring to conclusion our tutorial series on creating a careers portal. And yes, it is live and running. Okay. So by the end of this video, you're going to have your website up and running. So where I left it last week, we're going to do everything that's required to get this to this point where you can click and find the job list. So this will take you to where you see the list of jobs, that we have in our database. All right. And you'll also be able to search by company. So if you go to the bottom, if you go back to the home page, for example, and you scroll through the home page, you are able to search via category. Okay, so we've categorized our jobs, and if you wanted to find, for example, only engineering jobs, you can click on this and open on a new tab, and it's going to show you only the jobs in our database that are related to engineering. Okay, so engineers, and engineering as well. All right, and also we've also categorized our jobs based on the companies, all right, that we have in our database. So at the bottom over there, you'll see we've got Anglo jobs, government, MTN, whatever. And if you click, for example, on MTN jobs and you open it in a new tab, it's going to list for you only the jobs that are for MTN in our database. Okay, so we're gonna do a lot in this video, but we're gonna get it to a point where the website itself is ready for deployment. We might still make modifications in the future, but we'll make those modifications on the fly. So guys, follow along and let's start learning. If you've been following along, I think we are on lecture 11 now, if I'm not mistaken. We had a lecture during the week where we created a Python bot to help us share our jobs on the internet to try and drive traffic to our website. So, but today we're going to continue with the website and the web application itself. Okay, so we left off last week. I had created for you and showed you how to scrap a website, for job data, and I showed you as well when it came to the government websites where they don't actually have the data on the website and they have it on PDF documents. I also showed you how to scrap the data of the PDF document using the Python library PyPDF2. Okay. This week I had a bit of an issue with PyPDF2, and I learned that it doesn't always scrap everything, so I had to find other methods to continue scrapping. Okay, I won't cover those here today, but I'll just let you go research them. If you have difficulty with PDF2, apparently it doesn't always work. It worked for us last week, but I had some challenges with it on other documents. Okay, but I'm not going to cover that today. I will continue with actually getting our website ready for launch. Okay, because I want to launch it as soon as possible, but there's a couple of loose ends that we want to tie up before we can do that. This is currently what our website looks like here on the front, and it has things that are not applicable. So before we can even launch it, we need to do something about the blogs. All right, and we need to perhaps update all of this on the front page. I think some of this is all right, but we need to get rid of this text. So there's some cleanup that we need to do. But I was focused mostly on the data and the database and getting that working. All right. So in this lecture today, I think we're going to tie up the loose ends with respect to the job data. All right. So at least we can get that done, and then we can continue with the other areas. Okay. So the one thing that we still need to do with the job data is to structure it in a way that people can search for it on the front, but also in a way that people can navigate through the website easier. All right, so I created 4 different companies. All right, I'll just show you on my database. Okay, so this is our URL admin. Okay, I can just go straight to the admin home so I can show you what we've done. Okay, so if you go to the admin home, you will see we have under categories. These are all the categories I've added. All right, consultant, there's new categories I've added as I was scraping new data, but basically these are the categories that would group the specific jobs into. All right, so I've created them as actual classes inside of Django because I'm going to use them to structure the data, and every time I upload a data set into the database, I structure it into one of these categories, and I've showed you how to do this in the previous lecture so that the job itself falls into one of these categories based on the title, so we sort of search the title, and if it contains any one of these, we put it inside the category to fit that. Okay, so watch last week's video to figure out how we do that. And then we enter the companies here so that we can also structure the jobs into the company. So every time we load a new job, there is a related field to a company and a related field to a category. So each and every single job fits into one category and one company, so that we can structure the job in that sense, and that when we search for it, we can be able to search for jobs that fit into this company, fit into that company, fit into this, or whatever company it is. And that's going to form the basis of what we're going to do today when we structure this data over there, and when we structure it into the categories. We're going to put it into these categories based on how we already entered the data into the database. You understand? So let me show you quickly. Where will I start? Okay, let me show you quickly with, for example, the code that I wrote to structure the data into the specific different companies. So for that, you need to Google Django, not App Scheduler. You need to Google Django database query. All right, there is all the information that you need inside of the Django documentation. All right, this documentation explains to you how you structure, sort of like classes in terms of the different variables that go into the classes, but it also explains like how the foreign key works. And in addition to that, it then explains that when you query the data set, how you can query it based on all the different variables that are in there. So that if, for example, you have a variable of headline, how you can query then when you're looking for a data class entry that contains a headline that equals something or that contains something or whatever. And also how if you have a foreign key of blog, how you can use the query to say, I want an entry that has a blog that has a certain title. So you can query based on these variables over here, but you can also query based on the variables within the foreign key itself. So if the blog has got a title, you can query and say, even though you're looking for an entry object, you can query for an entry object that has a blog of a certain title, or you can query for an entry object that has a date of a certain date or below, above, date greater than, date equal to, date contains, date whatever. So all of this is what we're going to be using in our search functionality. So I will link this, but I don't really have to. You can Google it the way I've done it, and I've shown you how to find this page. It's important you know how to get to this page yourself. So go and read this and go through all the different query type methods that you can use to be able to now find data that is off your data set. Okay, so since we last saw each other last week, I've added 2 different companies. Last week we had government jobs and we had Vodacom. I went and I found jobs from MTN and Anglo American, so I could just have more variety. And over time, as I build this website, I think it's enough for me to launch the website. But over time, as I build the website, I will be scrapping more and more websites to get more and more data, because ultimately I want this to be a full a full job search engine. I mean, if you in this alone, if you look at my jobs over there, I already have about 394 jobs in my database just from those 4 companies. So every time I add a company, maybe it gives me about 100 jobs, but I think the government ones were the most. Okay, MTN only had like 20. So actually I'm gonna start only scrapping websites that have more jobs so that I can have more data in my database. But still, 395 jobs is a lot of jobs for people to search through. Okay, so I've added them all into this database: jobs from Anglo American, jobs from Vodacom, from MTN. So it's just the same method I showed you. Just use it and find the website and add the data. I won't show you the code for all these other ones as well, because actually I shouldn't be showing you the code for scraping websites. I've given you one generic method of how to do it. You have to look at every website yourself and figure out how to apply the basics of web scraping and getting that data out. But the process is exactly the same, all right? So now that we have all of this, we are able to work on continue. So I've added all of this. If you look at the website now, you'll see on the front end, I've added, I'm able to classify government jobs, Anglo American jobs in one place, MTN jobs like that, and Vodacom jobs like that, right? And if you click on MTN jobs, because you hadn't seen that last week, you will see the title of the job. I have an image of a logo of the company. I have the location where the job is, and there's a button to apply. And if you click on that button to apply for that job, it takes you to the detailed page on our website. So this is the job detailed page on our URL. So this is the job that we actually want. This is the URL that we want to advertise on our social media. So the last time when we were creating our social media, we didn't have these URLs. These are the URLs we want to send people to, because we want people to come here and see our website, register, so that we can get people to visit. And I have over there, you can see a space for, I left space on purpose, where I'm going to be able to put adverts later on, because why else are you working this hard to build a website for people to go search for jobs, so that you can get eyes and eyeballs on your property, and then over time, if you're getting enough visitors, you can start selling adverts. You can start, advertising stuff to them and getting them to pay for being here. Maybe they don't pay, but like advertisers will pay to show their adverts on your website. You could even now start charging companies to show their adverts on your website if you have enough traffic. But when you start, you actually have to build the traffic first. Okay, so over time, this is the kind of place I'm going to be putting my adverts. When I've got people paying for adverts, they'll go in there. So somebody will be able to come and see a job like this. Hey, location, Johannesburg, Warawara. This job they can see when it was posted, that this is a recent job. This date posted is the date we posted it on, not the date they posted it on the MTN website. But we are managing our website to be recent. I haven't written the code for it, but we are going to be scheduling tasks for, updating the database and deleting old stuff from the database, because we want our database always to have only the recent stuff. But we'll get to that after deployment. That's going to be just later on. So people will be able to see this. And remember, we created that apply button. They can click on it. I'm going to open it in a new tab. And this URL takes them directly to the MTN website where that job is. So this is actually where we scrapped the job from. All right. And they can then apply directly on the MTN website for the job. And the same is for any other company. I mean, if you look at the Anglo one, I really loved how their data structure was. We're able to really display it nicely on our website. So if you look at this, for example, let me click. Oh, there's only 5. I'm only displaying 5 because this is on the front page. If you click on the Anglo detailed page, for example, you'll see we got a nice logo for them, and the data we got from Anglo in HTML format. So we're able to save it in our database in HTML format and display it, in a way that really looks nice. So this looks proper, right? Doesn't it? If you can find data like this is actually the best way to display it, so that it looks like, your website looks like a proper website. People can come here, they read through all the job specifications, and then they can click over there and apply for job, and then it takes them to the Anglo website where they can then continue. So all of this, I've shown you how to do this in last week's lecture. Okay, I'm not going to go through this again. I know in last week's lecture, I only showed you a code for government jobs, and I showed you code for Vodacom jobs. But the code that I showed you for Vodacom jobs is the same that I applied to Anglo and MTN, because these were all website these were all website scrapping jobs. So MTN, Anglo, and Vodacom, I scrapped all of this directly from the website. That's why I have a link to the website, because I can store where I scrapped it from and save it into the database. And when they click on the button, it takes them there. But the government jobs was the only one where I scrapped it off a PDF document, because government produces these every week, 10 different PDF documents with the jobs in it. So I had to go through the PDF documents, and if you look at the detailed government page, I had to go through the PDF documents and scrap it specifically to find the different stuff. And you can see even the structure is not as perfect, but I think we got enough information off. And most of the government jobs, at least, people, when they want to apply, they can do the inquiry. So there isn't a specific link of the PDF that people can go and click on to apply, because even on the PDF document itself with the government jobs, they just say, for inquiries, call this person, or email this, whatever. So hopefully with the government jobs, people will be able to look at the details there, and be able to get a phone number there. Most of the jobs were able to at least get a contact detail of the PDF that the people can contact and call that person, and they can get more information on the whatever. But at least if you know that this job exists, and we have the location and the salary, and we have the reference number as well, that was something important that we're able to get. So maybe they can use the reference number to get more information. But this is as much as we could get off the PDF document. I know there was more, but this is as much of structured data that we could consistently pull out, because some of the documents didn't have some certain things, some didn't have, and you can see it for yourself. Okay, if you get a better way of scraping the PDF, you can let us know in the comments below, and we'll be very, very happy to learn from you. Okay, so now that I've recapped all of that, I want to oh yes, again, we also had the jobs detailed page. So this jobs detailed page it's just a page that shows, like the top jobs that are on the whatever, and you can see most of them are the government ones, because I think we have like 70% government jobs and then 30% all the other ones. All right. So hopefully over time, as we add more companies, this list will start to look a little bit more, even out, and it won't be heavily government jobs. All right. Okay. So let's talk about what we want to do next. What we want to do next now is I want to wire this, these categories, so that when you click on them, it takes you to a detailed page. Same way as clicking on a detailed job takes you to the detailed page for the job itself. We want to design a detailed page for the category, so that if somebody clicks on developer jobs, for example, it will take them only to the place where we have developer jobs. And if you look at our database, you will see that under categories, these are all our categories that we've got, right? And if you look at jobs as well, each and every single job, I'm going to click on a job randomly, right? Each and every single job has a category, all right? And this category was specified when we created the job. All right, let me just show you the code quickly, just on a high level. I'm going to click on Vodacom. All right. So remember when we did the Vodacom jobs, we scrapped the website over here. So this is a website we scrapped it, and then we built the data set with the Python dict object, and then we put it in a list, and then we went through that list and found, first of all, we checked if there is all of these are the categories we built: director, engineer, databases, whatever. And we checked if the name, if on a high level, if that director string exists in the title. So we use the title to categorize our jobs. That's how we did it. And it's a crude way of doing it, but it's proven at least effective to a certain degree. So if it's a director job, there will be the word director somewhere in the title. If it's an engineer job, there will be the word engineer somewhere in the title. Developer, and so forth and so forth. So we actually just use the title of the job to find these keywords, and if these keywords exist, all right, we put them in those categories. So that's how we specified the categories for the jobs, and we did this when we were saving the job in the database the first time, which means that each and every single job that is currently in the database is fitting into one of these categories, and if it didn't fit into any one of them, it ended up being uncategorized. So if it didn't find any of these, it just went into an uncategorized section, so that at least it still has the category specified and it's not null. And later on we'll see how to deal with that. So we should be able to then work off the category to we should be able to write code of the category to find the data that goes into the category. Okay, and I'm going to show you that quickly. So if we open, so this is running over here. I'm going to quickly stop this. I'm printing stuff over here, right? So I'm going to stop this, Control C, the server, and I'm going to clear it. And I'm going to CD into the jobs app. This is where we have all the jobs models, the jobs views, and so forth. And then I'm going to open our views file. Okay, this is the file that manages all the views that we have inside of the jobs app. So the viewing the home page, viewing all the job detail pages, the job list pages, and so forth. Okay, so views.py, I'm going to open it up, and I'm just going to show you some quick things that I did on the home page. So this dev home is the function that manages everything that is happening inside of our home page. Not this one, yeah, this home page over here. So everything that's happening in the home page is of the home view function. All right, and so the fact that we're able to categorize according to the companies, you saw that when I clicked on if I click now, it's not going to work because the server is not running anymore. But you're able to see that as I clicked on the different tabs over here, I was able to get different companies. I was able to get Anglo jobs, MTN jobs, and Vodacom jobs. So I've already done some level of categorizing already on the home page, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Okay. So for the function home, what I did is that I created a variable called GVT jobs, okay? And inside that variable GVT jobs, I will say jobs objects filter, all right? And then I want to filter off the jobs class, but I want to filter where the company title is government. So this is company __ title equals to government jobs. So what does this do? This looks at the jobs class and all the jobs data inside of our database, and it filters that job. Remember, the jobs class goes into the jobs table, or the jobs the jobs table into our database. Okay, so each and every single class creates its own table, and inside of that table you have rows and columns. Columns represent the different variables. So the columns of the table are going to be the different variables that go into the class. So if this is our models, and we have the job model over here, all this inside of the jobs model, these are all the variables, the character fields and whatever. These variables, they go into different columns of that table inside of the database, and inside of that table, the rows are going to be filled by different instances of the job class. So for example, I create job 1. Job 1 is this job, deputy director private. This is going to be a row in the table, and inside that row, I'm going to have to specify all the different elements, all the different columns that go into the row. Now, when I want to search through that row, that table, to return only certain rows, I have to give it conditions based on the columns. So the columns are these variables over here, and then I say to it, I want the company -- title to be government jobs. So what does this do? It looks at the company column, and the company is a foreign key, which means the company is also another class. So it looks at the company class, and inside of the company class, which is over here, it looks for the title. Is the company title? Yes, it looks for the company title, and then it returns the company title that is equals to government jobs. All right. So I want you to give me jobs only that have a company of government jobs. Then I want you to give me jobs here only that have a company of Anglo-American. I want you to give me jobs only that have the company of MTN, and jobs only that have the company of Vodacom. And then what I'm doing at the end over here with we did a little bit of this last week as well, but the wrong way. The right way to do it is once you've called this, all right, then at the end you can just append open, close, square brackets, semicolon 5. This 5 just means I want you to return only 5 values. All right, so this is limiting the return so that you don't return each and every single government job, because then I'm going to have hundreds, and I can't fit hundreds, a list of 100 on my front page. I want only 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want you to return 5 for all these different ones, okay? Then people can then, if they want to see more details, they can click on the company and then they can find more details of it, okay? So that's what we're doing here. And then after that, we create the context. As opposed to the way we had done it before where the context was over there, we create the context as a dict object. The context is the dict object. You can call this anything you want, all right? I chose to call it context. And then within the context as a dict object, I create the, the value pairs, the first one is government jobs, and the government jobs just put in that. And remember, this returns a list. Every time you filter, you return a list. If it filters and it finds nothing, it will be an empty list. If it finds only 1, it will be a list of 1. If it finds 10, it will be a list of 10. But this returns a list, all right? Then this government jobs is a list, this Anglo jobs is a list, this MTN jobs is a list, that is a list, all right? Then inside of this context, then when I call the, so I need to remove this print. I don't know how to print this anymore. I was troubleshooting with this. Yeah, I was actually just, you can also have a look quickly at what I was trying to do here. I was trying to create a job list, which is jobs ordered by, all right? So that's another way you can call things. You can call things and call them according to, in a way that you want it to be ordered, all right? So instead of saying objects filter, you can say objects ordered by, all right? So in this specific case, I was doing this just for testing. I don't need this in this. This is not necessary for this, page, because now instead of calling all jobs, we're only calling jobs based on the company that the jobs belong to, and then we return when we render the request and the HTML page, we put into the context, that context of a thing, all right? Then if we go and have a look at the HTML, which is the index HTML, which is the front page of the index. Let me just go and find this government jobs. I'm just going to search for it because it's a long HTML page. All right, it's over here. Yeah, there you go. So when this whole HTML from here all the way up to there, this whole snippet covers just this one block, all right? So I'm trying to say, I want you to replicate this block for as many times as government jobs list continues for. So government jobs is only 5, but if it was 10 or 20, it would be replicated 20 times. So every time you say for job in government jobs, it's going to run that code for as many times as elements exist in the list that you are iterating through. So I'm iterating through this government jobs list, and you'll see the list item. I want you to show the job title, the location, the salary, and all of this came from the original template. Remember when we downloaded this template off of Render? Where was it? Render Forest or can't remember. Theme Forest, Theme Wagon. Yes, we got this off of Theme Wagon for free. Okay, so if you can look at our previous videos, I think it's the first or the second video, you can also download this template to work with the same template that I'm working with. All right, I can't actually provide this template to you. It just hit me. You have to download it yourself from Render Forest, and then you have to follow along. But in this template, this is there, and then instead of replicating it manually in hard code, you just need to get one instance of it or one version of it, and then you can put it inside of a for loop, and then you loop through a list, and inside that list, then you use job. Okay, job dot whatever it is, dot company, dot title. And remember here, this is now job dot title. So this is the title of the job, but this is job dot company dot title. The text muted over here, government jobs. So this is now the title of the company, right? This is even how we filtered this list. We filtered it based on job.company.title, all right? And then location, salary, whatever, and all sorts of other things, all right? So this is just basic HTML. So then it replicates it that many times. So that's how we've done this first page, all right? It's based on this coding over here, government jobs, Angular jobs, and so forth and so forth. So I'm going to close this. It's going to ask me to save yes, all right? And then I'm going to cd out of here, and I'm going to run server again. All right, so that I can just show you a couple of what I was talking about, right? So this is then government jobs, and then on the next tab is Anglo jobs. You'll see it's exactly the same thing. MTN jobs is only the jobs that go into MTN, and our Vodacom jobs is only the jobs that go into Vodacom. So basically what we've done over here is exactly the same thing that we need to do over here. We need to then, because the job model, if you look at our models, where are they? Where's our models? If we look at our models, if you look at the job model has a foreign key of company, right? This is how we structured and we're able to call these different companies, right? But now we want to do the exact same thing with the category. So we want to be able to, we're going to write the exact same code that, okay, I've closed it now, but we're going to write the exact same code to filter through the job table to bring forth only a category that we want, so that we can have it in these different pages, so that we can create a page for developer, for technology, but we'll do it only once, and then depending on the slug, you'll see how we're going to do the detailed pages for all of this. So currently we are using this to display all on one page, but here we're going to rewrite the code. We're going to write the code to create a link that when we click on this, it takes us only to the technology page, and we're going to do that in a bit. Okay, so what we're gonna start with over here is we're gonna start with our URL path, okay, for the detailed category. Now to get an idea of how, getting started, I'm gonna just open the job model again. I don't know why did I close this. And inside the job model, if you look at the category model class, under the get absolute URL, this is the URL that we need to hit to be able to get a detailed instance of a category. All right, we need to have a URL path that is called category detail, and then we need to pass in the slug. All right. So this is specifically what we need to call our URL path. So I'm going to copy this so I don't get the spelling wrong. Otherwise, it will not sort of register with the database. And inside of our paths, maybe let me just see, just under jobs, detailed jobs over there, I'm just gonna open a new one in 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna say path, open, close, and put a comma at the end over there. All right, and over here at the end, we just need to say the name must be equals to that what I just pasted in the category detail, right? Then we can put in all the other things. All right, so the next thing, the first argument that this takes is the sort of like the path that somebody would follow to get to this. All right, so let's call this it will be jobs slash detailed category, because it has to be unique. It can't be jobs and slug again. So it's gonna be job category, and then inside after that, then maybe we can enter the slug in there. So it will be like job category, and then whatever the slug that needs to that will be in the job category. So we just need to say slug like that, the way we wrote that other one over there. So this one was job slug, which means it went to jobs first, and then the specific slug of the detailed job filled in there. But in this case, it will be job category then slug, so that these two can be differentiated from each other and they're not the same. Then after we've done that, then we can enter the comma, and we need to then enter the the view. The view that is going to serve this this page. And the view we haven't created yet, but we are going to create it. But I'm going to call it jobs views, because it's going to be inside the jobs view file, because it's part of the jobs application. So, and the jobs views has already been imported over there, which means I just have to go into the jobs view file and add this new view that we're talking about. But we're going to do that later. But we could call it, let me see in my jobs view file. We have home, we have terms, we have jobs list, we have jobs details. So we could call it category detail. All right. So we could call it, give it the exact same name that's there, but with a down score, so that we keep the same naming convention. So let's say jobs category. Category detail like that. All right. So the path is going to take us to jobs category and the slug. All right, the view function is going to be inside the jobs views file, and it's going to be called category detail function. And then the name of that path is going to be category detail. All right, that's all we need for now inside of the urls.py file. So I'm going to close this and save that, and then we can continue to create our actual path inside of here. All right, so under the job detail at the bottom over there, at the bottom of this file, we're going to create a new one. We're going to call it category detail, like that, and then it's going to take in the request. And remember, this also takes in the slug. All right, it also takes in the slug the same way the job detail one takes in, because if you look at our job model, that path takes in the slug. Okay, so we have to include, that is a slug that we're going to be using to get the detail category page. So I'm actually going to just copy the most of what's in here. So I'm going to call this the category. All right, can I put this up here so you can see what I'm doing? All right, I'm going to call this the category. The category is going to be equals to jobs, so that we know what category we're talking about. All right, and then I'll just copy this as well over there, return. Okay, but instead of rendering job detail, it's going to render category detail HTML, but we haven't created. We're still going to create this HTML page. This time we're working in reverse. Normally I start with the HTML page, I do the view, then I go to the URL part. This time I'm working in reverse. So, either way, it doesn't matter as long as you know and you don't miss any step. All right. And then over here, instead of saying that, I'm just going to call this context for now, and we'll define it later. So for now, you can just say the context is equals to an empty object. All right. So I'm going to say jobs, right? And then jobs is going to be equals to the jobs class objects filter. All right, it's going to have to filter by category slug equals to that. So actually we can even say by equals to company, no, not company, sorry, category, like that. Then you can have underscore underscore, all right, slug equals to slug. All right, so what we're doing here is that we are getting all the jobs from the database where the category, all right, where the job category, all right, with this category, and then when we go into the category, we have to use underscore underscore, where the category dot, we can then access all the variables inside of a category. So we want the slug of the category to be equals to the slug that has been passed over there. So now we have the specific category class, and then we have now a list of jobs that's going to be given to us. Do we want to display all the jobs? I don't know. Let's say if there was like 100 jobs in our database for that category, let's say we will display only the first, I don't know, let's make it like the first 20, all right? Because another thing, the thing that I do to other people's websites and go scrapping people's websites, I don't want people to do on my website, okay? So I don't want to actually find myself displaying all my data on my website at the same time. I don't want to find myself, even with the pagination, I don't want that. I actually want people to search for specific things so that they spend time on my website and go through my adverts, So I want people to like search a little bit and look for things. If they don't find it here, they look for it there. So I don't want to make everything just in a list for people to just go through and then they're going to build their own scrappers to scrap my entire list, okay? I don't want that. I do the same thing, but I don't want that to do to me. So the way you build your website, also, you need to think about this. You might have a database of 100 jobs, but do you want to display your 100 jobs at the same time? Okay, or do you want people to search and you only to give them 20, and then they must find another search term and you give them another 20, and then they spend a good 30 minutes searching on your website until they find the right job, and that whole 30 minutes you're advertising to them, you're selling them adverts, and you're making money. That's what you want, okay? So jobs objects filter category slug is equals to that, right? Then I'm going to say I'm going to now fill up that context object, and I'm going to say context jobs, right? Context jobs is equals to jobs. This is the equivalent of writing it like this. If this was a jobs class and you had jobs in there, and then jobs was jobs, okay? So this over here It's exactly the same thing as defining the context first and then defining the jobs, variable in there as jobs, right? But I like to do it like this if I want to define other things. Then it's cleaner code. If I want to then say I want to define the jobs, then later on maybe I want to define something else, like for example, the category as well. So I want to say context. I want to send the category over to the front end, and then I will say the category is equals to the category, so that I can have access to this category as well and have access to jobs separately. All right. We can now work on our HTML, because now we need to be able to display this in the HTML. Now, if you look at our previous website, this is the detailed jobs page, right? It displays a detailed list of all the jobs that we've got. In fact, not all. I think we limited it at 30. So if you look at our job list path, this is the job list HTML that I'm showing you now. This is the job list HTML that renders this page. And inside the job list HTML, we sort of called in the jobs, all jobs ordered by date created, but we only called in 30. Okay. And now I'm only going to call in 20 if it exists. But I actually want to use the same template because I want to display all the jobs within that category. Okay, so I can display it in a list. So the template is going to look exactly the same. The only difference is going to be a couple of things here and there. So I'm actually just going to work off this template and copy and paste it. All right. So my job list page is this one. HTML is that one over there. I'm just going to copy it. Copy this whole HTML. And I'm going to create a new, and I'm going to call it category detail. I think I've already pasted it in here. All right. So assume I hadn't done it. Let me just paste it in front of you. You'll see it's exactly the same HTML. Then I'm just going to paste that in there. All right. So this extends layer 2. And then we load static. All right. So as a title there, now that I have access to the category, this is why I wanted to do it like that. Because over here, home views, you have, this jobs is a list, all right? So this is a list of jobs, and at least here I have the category. So if I want to access variables out of the category, I would have to do it through the list if I didn't have the category. So maybe that's why maybe you want to have it like that. Then you can access the category.title. No. So this is wrong. Sorry, this is a mistake. This is category, not jobs. Sorry. Category. Okay, this is the category class. Let me just go have a look at my job models. All right. So this class over here, the category, this is the class that you're getting off of the views. So the category there is the category class, and then you want to get slug is equal to slug. So this returns one instance of the category if it exists. Okay, so it's going to return one instance of the category, but this returns a list because it filters, it returns a list. And now that's a list, that's a one instance. So if you just want to find if you just want to find specific, elements of your category, you can use that class. So inside of our HTML, at the title there, we can then say this is the category, right? Dot title. So if this category was engineer, whatever, it would be that. So maybe I will say careers portals. Remember, careers portal is our keyword. On our website, you want to use it as much as possible everywhere because you want to hint and signal to Google this is your keyword, all right? And so that you start to rank for that word careers portal. And the description over there, remember, this is why we did this. Inside of our details class, we built this SEO description and SEO keywords, all right? And we didn't actually enter it manually ourselves, if you remember. We are creating it using the save method. When we save this class, it's going to recalculate every time the slug, the SEO description, and the SEO keywords. And it's going to use these words we've given it. Apply for what jobs online, start your career journey today. And it's going to enter the title depending on what the title was. So if the title was for the category, for example, is engineering jobs, it's going to say apply for engineering jobs online and start your career journey today. If the category was project management jobs, it will say apply for project management jobs and start your career online today. I know this is not very sophisticated. Perhaps you might want to find ways to add other things, maybe even add the company name or whatever. That's up to you, so that it can look a little bit more spiced up. But at least I'm showing you the high level elements of how you can create these SEO descriptions on the fly so that you can access them inside of your HTML page. So when it comes to the description over here, I'm just going to say this is the category dot SEO description. All right, so this is where the SEO description goes, and the keywords is going to be exactly the same. Okay, it's going to be the category dot SEO description. No, not SEO description. This is SEO keywords. This is the keywords. That's the description. I'm the author. The title is going to be, I can actually even use this as the title. I can use the SEO description as the title as well. And then the site name is Careers Portal. The URL, we can use our URL, and we can use the URL. We can use the sort of the, what do you call it? The URL. We can calculate, because the URL will be dependent on what category instance was selected. Okay, so you actually have to like calculate it on the fly, or sort of figure it out what it's going to be on the fly based on the slug that was selected. So you don't know what the URL is, you can't hard code it into the HTML. You have to figure out first of all what category was selected and then get the slug off of that. So how we're going to do this is we're going to use the same way we do the URL path. We're going to say it is URL, okay, and then it is the URL for category detail, and then it's the same category detail over here. So it's the URL path for that. Okay, category. Just copy this so I don't get the spelling wrong, because it will give me an error if I do. Reverse not found, wada error. So it will be category for that, and then it takes in a an argument of slug. Okay, so the slug is going to be the category dot slug. Right, so this is just how you define it. Okay, you will say it's a URL, you put in the name of the URL. If it doesn't take any arguments, you just leave it like that. But if it takes in an argument, you will specify what the argument is, and the argument is going to be, we have access to the category over here. It will be the category slug. All right, then that's a website, and then comes the image. All right, so what is this image? All right, this image over here is like, have you ever like, let me find like something like a, something I can show you. Let me find one of my other websites. All right, Scholar Online. All right, let me pick a course over here. This one, okay, building a blockchain in Python. All right, so you see this course. This is a detailed page for this course, right? And I'm gonna just copy the URL. All right, and I'm going to paste it on I'm going to paste it on Twitter. All right, so I'm going to open Twitter, and I'm going to paste this URL over here like I'm creating a tweet. All right, so let me put in some things, blah blah, learn blockchain online, Scholar Online. All right, maybe put in some hashtags, blockchain, whatever, blockchain programming, maybe Python. I'm gonna do it like a real tweet. But I wanted to show you is this over here. All right, so this doesn't create itself automatically. And if you don't structure your website properly, this doesn't come out when you put it into Twitter. Okay, what this is like, it's in the meta description of the website, but it tells Twitter from the link immediately when you post this on Twitter already has indexed this link somehow, or they go to index it via whatever, or they go to your link and they find all this information so they can populate this. So they know the image that needs to go in here, the image that fits your website, but this is not automatic. You have to tell Twitter what this image is. All right, and then it finds the title of your website, and then it finds the description and the link. All right, so this information over here that Twitter uses to build this widget is not automatic. You have to tell Twitter what this information is. But when you post this link, all right, Twitter goes to this link, all right, and finds this information, all right, and then now it's showing me a preview. Sometimes it doesn't even show you a preview, and it only shows it after, especially if it's a new link. Okay, but that's why I think in the background perhaps it's scrapping it at the same time and going there and fetching this and bringing it back and then showing it. But the point I'm trying to make here is you have to tell Twitter what this information is, and this helps your tweet look, it has more real estate on the tweet or whatever. Even on Facebook, if I share the same link on Facebook also has the same thing. Even LinkedIn, wherever you share it, a lot of these websites, they use the same sort of format to display links, all right? But you have to build the link you have to give it that information inside of the meta tag, okay? And that's what I want to show you. So I'm going to tweet it because I've already written it, but I want to show you now how you do this, right? How you do this is you describe all of this. This is all the things I'm showing you over there. So the property stuff, I think this is the stuff that goes to, I think this is what Facebook uses. I'm not sure. I don't know the details of who uses what, and this is definitely Twitter, and I think this is what Facebook. That's why I have it more than once. You'll see I have description there, and then I have description there, and I have description there, because I'm building it for like all of them so that at least they all have it. And sometimes I get warnings that I've described the description more than once. I don't care, because I'd rather describe it more than once and make sure it's there and they find it, and then my link always comes out right than they don't find it, right? But the point I'm trying to make here is this is how I think the OG one is the Facebook one, right? And then this is the Twitter one, all right? And then Google always finds it off of the original description over there. So that when you show your link, those websites can find the information. So the title, this title over here is what goes into the title section. And the site name and the URL is the URL that will go to scrap and get that information from, and the URL that will also display in that widget, all right? And then the type is the website. This image is the image that fills that whole image space, all right? So you need to give it an absolute path of an image that they will be able to find online, all right? So this with Flask sometimes it doesn't always work, and when you go, and there's a difference between you're in production and when you're not in production, and it's a lot of things. That's why I host my images, especially the images that I use inside of my meta descriptions. I host them somewhere else so that I know I'm not going to have a problem with the websites finding the images, okay? So the image that I want to use for this is this image called Careers Portal, and if you click this link over here, right, and you just copy it and you paste it, I think it's this one over there, right? Yeah, it's the same link over here. I'm hosting it over there. Okay, I got a website that is purely for hosting images. And you can also build it. Just build a pure HTML and have an image folder in there. And inside that image folder, you put all your images. And then you just host that website. You make sure that it's live. And you can always add images in there. Right? It doesn't matter what you have on the front end of the HTML, as long as you have images in your IMG folder, whatever you call your IMG folder, whether you call it IMG or images, just make sure that the path will match that, and then you can host your images. So I just added this image there, all right, and then you get that whole URL of the image, right, and you put it in there so that when you're showing this inside of your wherever, link, Facebook, whatever, they can find this image, all right? And then the email address, this is my email support email that they can contact. And then over here is the Twitter section, okay? So the Twitter card, there is options of Twitter cards that you can use, all right? And I selected the large image. The large image is the one that you saw, this one, for example. Where is it? Let me go to my profile so I can find exactly, because it's disappeared again. All right, this is the large image. Twitter has different types, and you can check the documentation, all right? It has different types of images that you can use, large, medium, whatever, So the one that I want is the large one. So when I specified here a summary large image, it's always going to come out like this, all right? And then after that, for Twitter creator, you can put in your Twitter username. I think I have Nakamoto Zatosh because it's always my default. But in this specific case, I can actually use this username of Scholar Online like that. But then this is not the Scholar Online website. So once I create a Twitter for this, I can use that. But for now, even Nakamoto Zatosh is fine. And then the Twitter title, I'm just going to have it as the category.title. Okay. The category.title. So this will be the title of the category. So it will say something like, engineering jobs. But maybe it will say engineering. So maybe I need to say careers portal. careers portal, and then it will be engineering jobs. Because the way I've labeled my title is engineering project management, so that actually let me have all my titles like that. So this description, where's title? Yeah, let me have that like that as well instead of the description. Where is my title again? Yeah, so let's have it like that. And then the description is the one that's going to be the category SEO description. All right. And then the image is the same. So you need to take special care to do your meta description very well, because this influences a lot your SEO and how people find your site. And if, for example, I have a link that looks like this, people are more likely to click on it because you can actually share a lot of information, considering that Twitter limits a lot in terms of the stuff you can put inside of your text. You get like 160 characters. You can only communicate so much information, but you've got an image now that has a lot of pictures, and then you have more text. So this is actually another way of sneaking in more information into one tweet. You understand? So all this information that you have over there is going to be displayed in the tweet as well. Right, and the same applies if you do this also for Facebook. So all my pages, especially the ones that I really want to feature, I always have this SEO meta description defined in all of them. Okay, and I know I spend a lot of time on this, but this is important for building your traffic and stuff, especially if you're going to be sharing your links a lot and you want people to get as much information as possible off those links, right? Then once you've done that, so this here is going to be, this is where the breadcrumb area is, I think. So let's go back to the website and have a look at what it looks like, the detailed page. All right, so it says careers portal, home jobs. So over here, instead of saying career portal jobs, I want to say career portal. Actually, I don't want to say career portal. I want to say the category dot title. So this is going to say, for example, engineering job or whatever. So yeah, then I can say careers portal engineering jobs apply. Okay, or maybe I can have apply at the beginning. Apply online. Okay, so it will say maybe apply online careers portal engineering jobs, apply online careers portal project management, whatever it is the category that we've selected. And then from home, you will go home, you will go jobs, and then so it will say home jobs. So this the one that looks like home list item over there. All right, I will create a new one so that there's another crumb in there, and this one will take it to the detailed jobs page. So you can even write it like this. So there's two ways of representing links: the hard-coded way like that, or the the dynamic way like that. All right, it's up to you how you want to do it. Okay, this is okay, that's okay, people have preferences, but I think for simplicity, if you know that there is no variables that go into the URL, I like to present them, for me, the hard-coded way. But if I know that there's variables that go into it, then I do it the programmatic manner. But it's up to you. So if I wanted to do it the hard-coded way, I would say URL for jobs, whatever it is there. And then over there, for the URL for jobs, I want to say jobs. Okay, all jobs, or just say jobs. And then in here, I want to put in the category dot title. So it will, so the breadcrumb will read like home jobs engineering jobs. All right, so that's the breadcrumb area done. And then over there, after the breadcrumb area is done, then you have a little bit of a title again. The title is always a good place to overly represent your keywords, right? So I think I've pretty much selected, I want this to be the one that sort of features careers portals engineering jobs. So I'm gonna just put that in there. All right, and then I will iterate through for job in jobs, and everything else remains the same. All right, but then I need to figure out what is the list that I called. Remember, when you're iterating through, you're iterating a list. So let me go back to my home views. So the category, I use this category class to sort of find all the category details, the titles especially. But now I'm iterating through the jobs, and I think I called it jobs as well, so that's fine. So if I called it jobs, then the detailed page, you can also iterate through for job in jobs. That list is what I called it, all right? That's fine. Okay. So if that's done, we can actually then update our thingy here. So, but before, yes, let me save this. Before we do that, I'm going to go into the index page, because I want the index page, which is this front page over here. All right, I want this to link to the category page. So I need to even this title to be the title of the category itself. All right, and I have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 categories. I have to decide which categories I want. I can hand select the categories, which is probably the best thing to do instead of trying to get this to do this randomly for you. Because if I have a category that only has one job in it, for example, I don't want that category. I want sort of my top categories, the ones which have more jobs to be featuring on the front page. Okay, so let me have a look at my list of categories over here. I think I listed them somewhere. So I need a list of 8. Definitely, I think I will go with manager and engineer and director, definitely. So manager, I will have that one. Director, I'll have number 2, and engineer, I'll have number 3, because when I was going through my data, there was a lot of jobs that fell into that. And then a specialist as well, there was a lot of jobs that went into specialist. So that's the top 4. Let me see if I can find another one. Research trainee, technology as well. There was a lot of jobs that went into that. Our consultant. There was a lot of jobs that went into that. Research trainee, developer, not really, procurement, accountant, project manager. Dish. I need 2 more. All right. Let me see. Business development. Okay, let me put that anyway, even if it only has like 1 job, and then out of all these other ones, I think I'll select. I think there was a lot that went into research or project manager. Research, this is which one between the 2? Project manager, research. Actually, let me do something here. All right. No. Let me just manually do this. It'll take too long to try and write another set of code just to figure out what is the number of jobs per category. That will be too long. So I'm gonna just mini more. I'll pick project manager, right? So that because it's just the last one. All right. So I'll have these ones, and I will manually put them in. All right. So inside of our home page over here, all right, I'm gonna create variables for these specific categories. All right. So I'm going to say my first one, for example. I'm going to call this director. All right. I'm going to find category. All right. Dot objects. Dot get. I want you to get specifically the category where where the title is equals to director. I think that was the title. Okay, if I'm not sure, I can just let me see where I am. I can just rerun this. Okay, so I'm going to do Python manage.py run server. Yeah, okay, so this is the problem. Yeah, so this won't run because I changed some code in here, but I haven't fixed it. Yeah, I haven't created that class. Actually, I can do it quickly by just copying. By copying this detail category detail function over there. So stop this and cd jobs. Actually, nano jobs views.py. Go into this file over here, and at the bottom of this file, because we haven't created this function, but we're trying to run it, and it's saying it can't find the function category detail, right? So I'm going to then close this and say yes. Then I should be able to run this without issue this time. Yeah, I want to run this because I want to go into the database and just make sure that inside of my categories, I get the naming correctly. Okay, so I want the title director. There it is. Okay, so the title is director. Okay, and then the next one, manager. Okay, so now that we've finished typing all of them, all of that list in here, we're calling them individually. And the reason why I'm calling them individually is because I want to specifically call specific categories that I want to call, okay, because I'm still building this up and I don't have, I don't want somebody to click on a category that doesn't have any jobs or has only one job, okay, so I want the categories that I want to select manually, but the shorter way or the better way of doing this would just to be called the entire category list and then iterate through the list over here. But the way the HTML is built as well, if you go to the index HTML page, which is this HTML page, you'll see it's built with like different icons for different categories. So perhaps you want to build this also individually on the front side and sort of pick the different icon that you want, but we're not going to work on picking the icons this time. But it looks like maybe it's better to decide manually, because this is your front page. You want to decide manually what category you want to go in there, what category you want to go in there. So we're going to call them individually one by one. Okay, so inside over here, so I'm calling director as a category that has the director as the title and all of those other ones, and then we have to pass this into the context. Okay, so let me just quickly type that as well. Okay, and every time you find a whole lot of replication, you also don't want that. Okay, so what you can also do here is that you can then just take that in here. Okay, so for the director, you can put that in there. All right, so now you have all of these to talk to on the front page. All right, so let's go back to our index HTML page. So instead of our index HTML page, you just have to find these elements over here, developer, that said 780 jobs. All right, so I think this was 8 developers. So instead of hard coding that, you can have director.title, or you can just hard code it. It's up to you. Yeah, director.title. And then over there, the URL that is going to link to when somebody clicks on it, you want it to link to the URL for category detail, and then director.slug. So this director a variable that gets passed to you over here, this category director class, you need to access the slug in there to build the URL for the detailed page, so that you can, not to build you have to build the URL that will help you access the detailed page of that. All right, so that's pretty much all you need. So you need to do that for all of them. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste all of these for you, fast forward mode. Okay, so once you have finished typing them all in, just double check everything is correct. Project manager, everything is a title over there, and then that's the slug at the top there. Slug title, category detail, slug title, category detail, engineer.slug, engineer category detailing there, and manager title, director title. Okay, just hope that you don't have a spelling error in here. All right, so basically what this will do is that it will call all of these and it will give you these details, but then you're able to get the slug as well from here. This is one of the reasons why you actually want to call this from the database. Otherwise you could have just typed in the titles yourself, but because you want to get the object so you can get the slug off of it, the slug is the one that's going to give you the ability to call in the URL from the get absolute URL of the detailed page. All right, so that's why we specifically I know it looks like a lot of effort to do this all one by one, but that was one of the main reasons. Okay, so I think we're done here. We can close this over here. Let's clear and let's copy all of our stuff. All right, so we need to cd into the jobs class. That's the one over there. I'm going to remove currently what's inside of the views.py file. All right, because I want to repaste all of this, what I've been doing over here. views.py. So all of this what's in here, including everything I've just retyped in here, but don't print anything. Let me just search that there's no prints left in this document. All right, so basically you want to copy all of this, including that, from the top all the way up to there. So copy that and paste it in there. And so the thing that we changed in this file was calling all of this inside of the home view, and also creating a category detailed page view, so that people can then find the URL off of there and be able to access the category detail page. And therefore we need to define this category detail HTML. All right, so I'm going to close this and save buffer, yes. And then I need to CD into the templates. All right, and inside of the templates, let's what's in here. This home page template changes as well, so let's remove the current one, the home.html. Okay, and then it's nano home.html. So this what we've been working on over here inside of the index page. We've added all of this, what we're working with now. We need to then move the entire folder, because I don't want to edit it one by one on the Linux and trying to figure out where all the lines are. It's easier for me to just remove the file that was there and paste in a new one. Okay, it's quite a long file. Okay, so we're gonna close that, save it, yes, save it, and then we're gonna recreate a new file. All right, so you're gonna use the nano command to create a new file. It will open it and create it at the same time. And the file we need to call, the file that we're creating, we need to call, if we look at our views, we need to call this file category detail.html. So I'm just gonna copy that and put it in there. So nano category detail.html. So that's the name of the file, and it's this category detail.html file we worked on when we started. So I'm going to copy this file as well and copy that and paste it in there. All right, and then once I've done that, let's hope everything is good. If it's not, it will give us an error, but let's try running server. All right, so we're going to do python manage.py run server on port 8000. Okay, no errors. Let's just restart this page and hope there's no errors either. Okay, so it found all the roots and everything in there, and you'll see now this has changed. It's now director, manager, engineer, specialist. These are all our categories. Okay, and but we haven't fixed this number of jobs underneath. Okay, that's gonna be your homework to do. But if you hover over it, right, you will see that it's at the bottom of your screen. It's showing the page that is going to go to, okay, the jobs category director, what. Okay, so we're going to click on that and see what happens. All right, so it took us to apply online careers portals directed jobs. All right, and then this is the what we built, the breadcrumbs. If you actually click on jobs, it will take you to the job site, and then these are the director jobs. All right, so these are all the director jobs we have on our site. It's quite a bit, right? But remember, we limited it to 20. So if we had more than 20 director jobs, it would only show the first 20. All right, so these are all the jobs that had the word director inside of the title that were classified as jobs for directors. Okay, then I'm going to go back to the home page and I'm going to look for engineering jobs. Let me look for engineering jobs. And we look for engineering jobs, you'll see it's not all government jobs. You do have some engineering technician and application engineer from Anglo-American. They're a little bit mixed between Anglo-American and the government, but it's still quite a bit of jobs that fall under the engineering category. Okay, so these are only jobs that are specific to engineers. You have some Vodacom ones as well, network and firewall engineer, and people can apply. This is a full-time job, and so forth and so forth. So this is how you build categories and link them from the front page to whatever. All right, so what I want to do next, and to finish off this lecture before we can clean up the rest of the website and load it up, is I want to build the search bar. Okay, because I want to be able to people must come in here from the front page, put in some keywords, all right? I don't know if I'm going to search via province. Maybe it'll just be keywords and, I don't know, a company. We'll figure it out how we do it. And then they can submit a search and then it will take them to a detailed page where it's only the keywords that they're searching for. And we'll do that in a bit. Okay, in order to start with the search functionality, the first step is for us to create a form. We've done this many, many times. So I'm going to go very quickly through it, okay? You need to create a new file that is called forms.py inside of your application. So far, inside of the job applications, we haven't had any form because we've just been displaying job data, and people haven't been entering it manually. We've been entering it ourselves from the back end using the search. Using the web scraping and getting that data that way. So we need to create a new file, and then you need to go from the Scholar app, which is the root of your project. You need to go into the jobs application. So you need to cd into jobs like that, and inside of jobs, that's where you have the models and everything of the jobs. Inside there, you need to create a new file that is called forms.py, that one over there. So you need to say nano forms.py, and inside of that file you're going to paste in here. Okay, there's just one quick form that we're creating. We need to import Django forms. We need to import everything from the models file, and then we're going to call it search form. And inside search form, we're just going to give it a title, and then we're going to say the model is jobs, and then the field is title. We just need one title. We just want people to enter like one word, and then from that one word we're going to use it to search. Okay, this is a very simplistic search, but in reality, when our database gets bigger, we're going to add maybe more fields so that we can search based on the location perhaps. So all those variables that we have inside of our data table, our columns, can be used for searching. All right, so you can have that. You can search based on the title. You can search based on the location. Maybe some things in the description if you want. People like maybe even the salary. But for now, we're just gonna focus only on the title, and it's sufficient for our small little website as we are starting off. So if the title contains engineer, somebody can search engineer and they can find it. The title contains, consultant, they can search consultant and find it. So we're only going to search based on the title, then copy all of this and paste it inside that file that is called forms.py. Okay, we don't need to create a new URL path for searching for now. We're going to work off our existing HTMLs, all right? So from the forms.py, then we need to then open back our views so that we can write the function for searching, all right? So inside of our views files, we're going to go from the forms. We're going to go into the views, all right? Inside of the views file, where you had the home page, because the search button is going to be off the home page. It's that search at the top of the index page, all right? So we need to import the search form in there, because then we need to be able to render the form on the front end, right? So all you do is that you need to remember we've added a new line over there that says from .forms import, because we didn't have this before. We only had importing the models, importing the shortcuts. So we just added from .forms import star, so that in future if we add more forms, we don't have to retype them one by one. And then you just say form, a search form, because there's only one form on this page. But later on, when we have more forms, we'll add them separately and we'll give them different names. So all you do is search forms. I'm not gonna change anything in there and rewrite this get, if it's get or if it's post. I'm just gonna add at the bottom here, handling the post from the page. If the requested method is equal to post. So normally when people access the page, the form will be rendered, okay, but it will be an empty form. There'll be nothing in there, and then we'll render all the other variables in there, all right? And then we need to remember to add the form to the context. So I've said context form is equal to form, because on the front end, we're gonna access it using the word form, all right? You mustn't forget this. If you don't do this, the front end won't find your form, okay? And you get an error anyway, and it will remind you, and then you'll come back and do it, right? And then it will just render everything in a blank form, allowing the user to actually submit the form. Once they submit the form, the request method is going to be post. Then they're going to come in here. And then now we're going to render the form. Render the form, but we have, inside the form, the request.post, which is all the data that comes inside of the form, all right? And then we're going to check if the form is valid, all right? If the form is valid, we're going to pull out the title, okay? And to pull out the title, or whatever it is that the person has entered, right? So let's say the person entered engineer, okay? So we're gonna say form clean data get title, and then this search variable will be engineer, depending on whatever it is that the person has entered, okay? And after they've entered that, we're gonna say jobs then we're going to go into our database and query the database to figure out, to find inside of the title, if this, whatever they've entered exists, okay? And the query to use is title I contains. There's many ones you can use, and go and have a look at the documentation over here, making query in the database, whether you want to use I contains or contains, because if you use contains, I think it has to be specifically what the person has entered, including the, whether they've used caps or lower or upper caps. But if you use I contains or I exact, then it's different. It can be, the other way around. I mean, they could have used, small caps, big caps, it will find it. So figure out which one is the correct one for you. Okay, I've chosen to select I contains. So if the title contains at all the word that they've entered, whether they've entered it in small caps or high caps. So this helps you, because sometimes with other frameworks that I've worked with Python, with Flask especially, I usually have to clean the data myself. Like I have to, whatever they've entered, remove all the spaces and make sure everything is lowercase so that I can compare it to the lowercase of the database. Because sometimes if somebody has entered engineer with all uppercase letters, and in my database is engineers with one uppercase and small lowercase, then it doesn't find it. So with Python, with Flask, you have to write a little bit more coding to get that right. But with this, it's very easy. Just use I contains, then it will bring back everything, even if it's all caps or small caps or upper caps, whatever, as long as it contains that word that they have entered in that specific format, right? Then this will be, because it's a filter, it will return a list. All right, then what we need to do now, we are rendering the job list HTML. Okay, now this is different. Now currently, if somebody enters the get of this home function, it renders the home page. Okay, but if they do a search and they go into the post part, it will render the job list HTML. So it will render a different HTML, and that's possible because obviously we want to render an HTML that can list the jobs that we have found, and the job list HTML is perfect for that. So we're not going to create a new file for this. We're just going to use that, and we're going to put in the jobs in there. All right, and if something is wrong, like else, if the form is not valid, for example, we're just going to re-render the home page, and we're going to re-render the form. But now this form is different, because context form now is this form that you defined over there with the request.post. So if there were errors, it would also display those errors, because it's now got the data from the form. All right, so this form is not the same as that form. That form is empty, but this form over here has got some variables, and it would have gone through this, and it will have the errors in there. If there's errors, because there will be a reason why the form was not valid, and it will feedback that to the client. This is the same as the other forms we've done, the register, the login, and all the other forms we've done in the past. Nothing new. The only new thing in here is that instead of saving any data or whatever, we're just pulling that stuff from the form, and then we're running a query with a database to do a search. All right, so once you've done that, we're going to copy this. All right, we're going to copy all of this. We're going to copy all of this, and then we're going to go into our views. Okay, we're going to remove what's currently there. Okay, inside of the jobs, we're going to remove the views.py, and then we're going to create a new one called views.py, like that. And then we're going to paste what we've written in there. All right, and then once we've done that, we're going to save this. All right, and then we're going to cd out of there, and now we're outside of there, and then we're just going to run. Let's just run it. Oh, there's something else that we've done that we need to do, the HTML page. Okay, so this it's not going to be complete yet. All right, so inside of the HTML, all right, so this is the HTML that renders. At the top there, the top bar where you had like 3 different things, I think you had location, you were searching on a lot of things. I've removed all of them and just left the one input, which is the input for the form.title. All right, so if you look at the form.title, that's the only input that we have inside of our forms over there. All right, so people are only going to have one field to search with, and then we display that. And over here, this was the input that was there before. All right, so they had an example of an input. You'll see it's type text, and this is the class of that input. All right, and then the placeholder is job keywords. All right, so I'm going to remove this because this renders the exact same thing this renders when you say form.title. Okay, but before I removed it, I copied that class. so that I can paste it inside of my forms. If you look at my class over there, it's form control rounded registration input box. Okay, so this class over here is the same class that I got off the original HTML form, because I want it to look the way it's designed to look from the template itself. All right, and then the placeholder job keywords is that placeholder that I'm putting in the enter search keyword. So that's the placeholder that will display in the form, and that's the class that will, that's why we're using the widgets over there, so we can specify the class and the placeholder. All right, so this is the index.html file. Okay, so inside of the form at the top there, we found where the form was. That form at the top, we removed everything else and only left one input. All right, and after we removed everything else, so we had to widen the columns. So this column is column 4 and this is column 8, so they had to add up to 12, so that this will take the majority of the space, 2/3 of the space, and then this will take 1/3 of the space. All right, it's up to you. You can have it 50-50, but I like it like this because later on I will actually like add other search variables in there. But for now, I'm just the title, so this will take most of the space. Okay, and then at the bottom here, you have to have this form errors. This is similar to what we did with our registration form, our login form. If you don't remember what this all means, go and rewatch those videos. All right, and then you have the title over there, so you can remove this, because this now renders the exact same thing. This just renders an input, right? And then you can remove that, and don't forget the CSRF token. Two important things about rendering a form is the CSRF token and making sure that you've selected the method is equals to post. If the form had a file in it that you're uploading, make sure that you have the the end type, whatever in there included. But now there's no files, it's just these two. And then you can copy this index.html. All right, I've already done it, but you can copy this and then you can replace the one in there and save it, and then your index is already saved. But that's all the changes you have to make in there. And then you can run server by saying python manage.py run server 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 like that. And if there's no errors, it will run properly, and then we'll go back and look for our careers portal, and then we'll just run the home page, and you'll see now on the home page at the top everything else was gone. We had 3 different things. It's now just one taking up the majority of the space. This is 2/3 of the space, and this taking the 1/3 of the space. We have the button, and this way you can enter your keyword. So let's search for a job. Engineer, okay, whether you say engineer like that, it shouldn't matter. It should pull out every job that has engineer, and it should render a job list page showing a list of pages that have the keyword engineer in them. All right, so let's search. There you go. It shows career. We go, even though it doesn't show that at the top, but actually we are in the job list page, and you'll see career portal jobs, and then you'll see over there, this has got engineering in there, but so engineering includes engineer. So this has got engineer, this has got engineer in there, that's got engineering. Okay, engineering also includes engineer. All right, so engineer, application engineer. So these are all the jobs that include engineer. All right. But so if we go back to home again and we search for, let's say we want to find jobs that include engineer and they include manager as well, right? And we search, all right? So it doesn't bring anything, all right? It doesn't even bring the jobs that had engineer, because I've searched only, the way I've redirected my search is only specifically looking for the combination of engineer and manager. So it doesn't find any job that has engineer and manager, but I know at least it should bring back just engineer, if it doesn't even bring back manager, right? So this is problematic. So what we're going to do is we need to refine our search so that at least inside of our views, when we process the search, it at least looks as, did the person enter just one word? Did they enter more than one word? And can we break the words up into pieces and then search for the individuals or combine them together? So searching is a bit of an involved task, and I won't go into the details of all the possible combinations that you need to cover when you're building a search algorithm, okay? But I'm going to do the most basic ones, because I think if somebody enters engineering manager, it's basic that that person should at least find engineering jobs in there, even if the engineering jobs doesn't contain manager, all right? Or should find jobs that contain both engineer and manager in it, all right? So how we're going to do that is that we need to work through this search word a little bit. All right, so for that I've rewritten this code over here, all right, so that I don't write it in front of you, and there's a little bit of work we're doing at the back. So the first thing that we're doing is that we are collecting the clean data, we're getting the title, all right, and then we are searching, we are checking for the length of that if it's greater than 1, right? So if we split that word, we're checking for if that length is greater than 1. What this will do is that it will just check if the person has entered more than 1 word, all right? And if they've entered more than 1 word, this code will run, okay? But if they've only entered 1 word, the old code that we had, this code is the same as what we had before, all right? So if they've only entered 1 word, we're just going to search for that 1 word. Now, if they've entered more than 1 word, we're going to split that. We're going to say search split, all right? And then we're going to create a search list, all right? Then we're going to go for every element in that, because we don't know how many words they've entered, right? This is a very crude way of doing it. But at least it's showing you that you have to consider if people have entered 1 or more than 1 word into the search bar. So if it's more than 1 word, we're going to go through all those words, and we're going to do the exact same thing we did over there for all the for the different, a list. We're going to do it for item in item. So we're going to go through all the words and search for the jobs that it contains. This is not the best way to do it, because this will bring back all the jobs that contains engineer, and it will bring back all the jobs that contains manager, even if the manager is not related to engineering. You know what I'm saying? So probably the best way that you want to do it is you want to search for all the jobs that contain engineer, then filter from those jobs only the ones that contain manager, so that it doesn't bring engineer, junior engineer, but it brings manager engineer, all right? But you can go through the Django documentation and figure out how to do that, okay? Because that probably makes more sense. But the way I've written it is that this will now bring back any jobs that contain engineer, any jobs that contain manager, both of them, it will bring them up, okay? And then it will add them to that list, okay? So it creates a list, an empty list, and then it searches through the first word, or each and every single word, and every single word that it searches, it finds a list of matching items with that word, and it adds them to this. For item in list, it appends them to this, and then we end up with this now long list called item list, all right? And then we now just filter through that item list to make sure that there are no duplicates, all right? So that we can append the jobs list, which is the one at the top, so that that's the one that we send through to the HTML template, because sometimes there will be duplicates. If it finds engineer and finds manager and it's the same job, it will enter it again. And then you don't want to do a search whatever and find the same job displayed twice on your search whatever. So this only just sort of removes all the duplicates in the list, and then it adds everything into the jobs list, and that's the list that you're showing over here. So this is a very crude way of doing it, but it will work. At least it will not. It helps at least not to return blank when someone enters engineer or manager. You understand what I'm saying, right? But ultimately, you probably have to refine this a little bit more and say return the first list, and then filter through that list. And there's ways of doing it, all right? Is to get that list. Even in here, you can get the first whatever and filter to get the second one. But the problem here is that you don't know how many words people have entered, right? And you don't know which one is the most important one. You don't know if, for example, they've entered manager, engineer, and that you want to start with manager, and then after you've gotten everything that is inside the manager, search only for what's with the engineers and the manager. So you have to figure out what's the best way to do it, go through the documentation and refine that, okay? But then once you've done that, you can come up here, and then we're going to copy now all of this, all right? And then we're going to go in here, we're going to stop this, and we're going to go into, let's just do this first, so I don't remove the wrong file. Nano jobs. Use the py, that's the correct file, okay? Then I'm just gonna use the same, whatever, and then remove the nano and make it rm, and then I can do that again and paste that, and then enter that, and then we can run server again, right? Now when we run server and we go back to our website over there, let's go back to the home. All right, if we go back to the home and now somebody enters engineer and they enter manager, all right, and they search, it brings back something. Before, remember when somebody entered engineer, they entered manager, it brought back a blank list because it was looking for the specific engineer manager inside the title. So at least now you bring back all the engineering jobs. And then the problem with this is that it will bring back all the manager jobs as well, assistant manager, even though this manager is not related to engineering. So ultimately what you really want to do is once it's brought back the engineering jobs is to filter through that only the ones that contain manager inside of them. All right, but we're not going to do that. That's your homework. Okay, that's your homework. The documentation is there. You can write that code. Now our website is pretty much ready, right? So let's go through it and do a couple of things. Okay, so this section is pretty good. Search for jobs on careers portal using the categories below. This works. All right, find your jobs. This works. Why does that not? Where is this? Why is this not working? GVT jobs. But I think if I go to Anglo-American jobs, I think I know what the problem is over here inside of my index template. GVT. For job in GVT jobs. That's very weird. So the Anglo-American jobs are there, the MTN jobs are there, the Vodacom jobs are there, the government jobs are not there. What is wrong with my code? Okay, I know what the problem is. So that's uppercase J, all right? So this needs to be lowercase j. All right, so let's fix that quickly. If we open views.py and over here, how did that change to uppercase J? That's very weird. Because it was fine before. So it needs to be GVT jobs like that. All right. So let's save this and let's make sure that even in all our possible templates where we could copy and paste this again, it's the correct lowercase j. All right. So we're gonna save that and then let's run server. And then let us restart this. There you go. Okay, so that's fine. So Anglo-American jobs. So this section is also good. The #1 leading job search platform South Africa for your next job on careers portal. That's good. How it works. This one I'll fix later. It's just cosmetics. Okay. This I'll also just leave like that. Our success stories, I will also fix this later. It's just cosmetics. Okay. So this section that says our clients, I just want to remove this. All right. So if I go into my index.html, okay. So let's find that our clients. All right, so this whole section over there, just want to remove it. All right, these images and whatever, so let's remove that. It's not necessary. For our website, we're going to remove that. Career advice: post a job and tell us about your project. We quickly match with the right freelancers. Okay, so I'm going to change that wording. Career advice. I'm actually going to call this careers portal blogs. Okay, get ready for your next job. Okay, next job. All right. While preparing for your job search, read about career topics from our leading authors. Read on topics like preparing for an interview, your next boss, and many more. Okay. So this will be like the typical titles that we'll have for our blogs, all right? And then over here, we will display the blogs and we'll have the read more button for the blogs, okay? So currently we haven't even created the job class, and we don't even have any jobs inside of our database, and we would need to do that before we continue, all right? So actually I'm going to create the blogs a little bit later. All right, but I'm going to keep this inside of my template because I want to have blogs. Blogs are a good way of driving traffic to your website. And but I think I'm ready to launch this website. All right, I'm gonna launch it even though it's incomplete. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna launch it as it is, and then after I've launched it, then I'm gonna work on the blogs and work on that. Making sure that, especially in the other cosmetic changes. Perhaps I'm gonna remove this our success stories. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna work on this very, very quickly off camera so that I don't waste your time, because I think Google's not gonna rank me very well if I have this type of text inside of my website. Finished making all those cosmetic changes. Let's just scroll through our website and see what we've done. So we've maintained the job categories because they're all wired. So, and then we have maintained the list of jobs based on the companies at the top there. Careers portal. So this is what I just worked on. Register an account. I just put in those words, and then I've just linked it to, like, jobs. People can go to the jobs, whatever. And at the bottom they have added specific. If you want to find government jobs, Anglo jobs, Vodacom jobs, and MTN jobs. So this is something new that I did. Something new that I did in the background. We found a way. Well, I created a new URL path where we would be displaying only jobs that are advertised for the government, and only jobs that are advertised for Anglo, Vodacom, and MTN. And as you have more companies, you can add them. But the way I did this is exactly the same as what we did for categories. Okay, so when we did categories, if you remember, we specified. We first of all find the category that we want, and then we go and we fetch it, and then we we create a detailed page for that category. But then within that detailed page, we display only the jobs that are related to that category. So the exact same way that we did this over here, but we did this for categories, you can do the exact same thing for companies, because companies and categories are sort of similar in the way we've described our models. You can search for jobs based on companies, or you can search for jobs based on categories, because we recreated them as a relationship, foreign key inside the job object. So the exact same thing that I did there, just go and do it for that, and then you'll be able to, like, if you click on government jobs, let me click it, open it in a new tab. All right, it's going to open a detailed page. I used the exact same template, but I replaced everything that was related to category with company. So instead of it saying category, it says apply for government jobs. Okay, so maybe I need to remove jobs at the end of that inside of the template, but I can do that later. And then here, all you see is, only the government jobs. And if you go back, from there, and you go into, for example, Vodacom jobs, all you see is only the Vodacom jobs. All right, and same for Anglo and whatever. So at least it gives us more things to sort of link at the bottom here. And then remember our terms and conditions, which we did right at the beginning of this tutorial. So our website is pretty much ready to go. Let me just have a quick look. So over here I have jobs, and I have home, and then I have jobs. And then if you click on jobs, this button works just fine. I'm gonna go back. If I click on profile, this is my profile page. For Bertha, you can see your resume, and you can see all sorts of things. So I need to sort of update also the, I think this is layout 1, layout 2. All right, so we'll do that quickly so that it shows the exact same thing there, and also the thing at the top. So let me do that quickly, and let me see this view resume. It shows the search for jobs. It's not linked to anything. Create a job alert. We haven't linked that. Read blogs. We haven't linked that. That's okay. We can do that later. All right, so what I wanted to do in this section is to show you how to go live with your website. All right, so I'm gonna fix these things later. They're not important. I can do them in like 5 minutes after the end of this tutorial, but we want to deploy this. All right, so if you recall, when we started, we worked off a DigitalOcean tutorial that showed us how to set up the entire Django project, right? I'm gonna go back to that, and I'm gonna bring it closer here. So when we started, this I think I had it linked right at the beginning, but I'm gonna link it again. And this tutorial was called How to Set Up Django with Postgres and Jinx Unicorn in Ubuntu 16.04. And you can change this and make it Ubuntu 20.04. It's up to you, right? Let me change it and make it Ubuntu 20.04. All right, because this is where we are right now. And if you recall, we went through all of this. We installed Python development environment. And if you had copied like I did and installed all of these things, you'll see in Jinx was one of the things you would have installed. You would have installed Postgres, SQL, and all of that, right? And this is Python 3 and this is Python 2. So I think we worked with Python 3 and this is what we installed, all right? So we went through all of this and we installed the SQL and we set up our database, if you recall. And then we went down here and set up all the things in our database, and we did pip and we created our virtual environment, and we activated every time we work inside our virtual environment, we do this code to activate it. And then we went in here, we created a Django project, you know, settings.py, we made all the changes we had to do, allowed hosts, all right, and all sorts of things that we did. So we did a lot of that. Let me just double check our settings.py, our allowed host, because if we are going to deploy this, we need to make some adjustments to that. So let me just, for now, we can actually stop this because I've shown you everything that I want to show you. But I want to just go to Nano Scholar app, settings.py, just open that file. And then I just want to go into allowed hosts. Okay, so currently our allowed hosts is just this, you know, our current, if you look at our current, you know, this is our DigitalOcean droplet. This is the IP of our DigitalOcean droplet. So this is currently the only allowed host that we have in here. All right, so we've included that in there, and localhost and 000. But because we're going to deploy this website, okay, we have to include a couple more things inside this file, right? We're going to need to go in there and include, the first one that we need to include is, because we already bought the domain careersportal.co.za. If you followed with us, we bought it, I don't know, lecture 2 or 3, somewhere there. We secured it because as we're working around it as a keyword, we wanted to make sure that that domain was secure and nobody else would use it, right? So when we did the keyword search and the SEO stuff to find the search volume, we did all of that for the careers portal, and we found that it was one of the best sort of names we could work with. It will help us to rank faster for that because the search volume was high, but the competition was also very high on it. So that's why we selected it. So I'm going to say careers portal. So I think the server was careersportal.co.za. So this is the domain that we're going to deploy our website. We've already bought that domain and we're going to deploy it to that. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to say just for control, we're going to enter www because we're going to create a a path for both of them. All right. So we have www careers portal and careers, because some people type www, some people don't. So we're gonna cover both of them, all right? So I'm gonna click that, say yes, and then let's go back to where we were, how to set up. So our settings.py file is sorted. We did all of this and we entered our whatevers. We sorted out the database. You know, we did our static folder. We made migrations. We collected static. We ran our server, domain IP, and this is what we got when we first started, when we had the blank website. We know how to log into our admin panel. We did all of that. Now, what we need to do is to continue. We left it off here because when we got here, we then went to work on updating our application the way we wanted, all right? So we changed the classes, But this tutorial is not complete. This tutorial goes all the way to deploying your website, all right? That's why we started with DigitalOcean. This is exactly why we are coding this website over here. This is why I'm copying and pasting things all the time. I get questions, but why are you doing all of that? That's so tedious. Why don't you just use Git or something like that? And wara. I didn't want to include Git in this tutorial because that's another good way of doing it. But for me to have included Git, I would have had to actually install it on my personal computer. Okay, not installed it, but I would have to do a lot of other things which I didn't want. Okay, so I was doing the long way of copying and pasting. But the reason why we started with a DigitalOcean droplet was so that at the end we can just deploy this easily. So we're going to continue with the same tutorial and deploy this, okay? But before we can do that and give it time to propagate, we need to go into our where we bought our domain. Okay, so our domain is bought off, even though we have our droplet, this is running on DigitalOcean. We actually have bought the domain name itself on domains.co.za. So we bought the domain careersportal.co.za here on domains, all right? So we need to actually point this domain towards our DigitalOcean droplet, so that when we load our website on our DigitalOcean droplet, it will, it will be displayed via the same domain name. All right. So that is called, we have to do something towards we have to add the record on the DNS of our website. So if you bought yours on DigitalOcean like I did, and I will link both, I will link both DigitalOcean and domains, okay? So if you bought your domain on domains like I did, you can easily update your DNS records on the customer service, or on the customer front end of your dashboard, all right? So all you need to do is that once you've logged in, you go into manage account, and then you go into domains like that, and then you'll see all the domains that you have inside of your whatever, and then you look for the one which is this one, careersportal.co.za. It's active, and then you go under manage, and then you go to manage DNS. All right. So once you go into manage DNS for Careers Portal like that, then you'll be able to enter a new you can enter a new DNS record like that, but you don't want to enter a new DNS record if it already exists. The DNS record that you want to edit is the A record. All right. So we need to edit the A record from what it's currently pointing at to point where we want it to point to. All right. So let me just show. So we need to find, first of all, our domain IP. So this is our IP. All right, like that. All right. So I'm going to just go back to domains and paste it there first, so that I can get rid of all the other things of the IP. All right. There you go. And then I'm going to cut it out, and then we go into the DNS records, and we look for the A record. Okay, we have a couple of A records. The first A record is this one, and you can see that there's no host on it. Okay, so this is the main A record of the actual website without anything in front of it. All right, so this is the A record that we need to change. It's currently pointing to this IP, but this IP is the IP that they're providing me with my hosting package on domains.co.za. Right, so I didn't build my website there, so I need to change this to the IP of where I am currently hosting this. That's all you have to do. All right. So you change all of that, and then you go to save changes. All right. So the records have been changed. Let's check that again to 10, and then we're gonna close that. It's gonna take a while to propagate, but it's usually like 10 to 30 minutes. It's not that as long as it used to be in the past. So that has been done. So everything that we're doing inside of our DNS, inside of our virtual machine, when we finally are ready to put our website up, it should lead directly to the domain that we have bought with domains.co.za. Okay. So when you do that, we need to then continue with the tutorial. All right. So we need to check GUnicorn, and all of that would have been already installed when we first went through this tutorial. Okay. So we need to run this command to check that we can actually run this thing off GUnicorn. All right. So I'm going to copy this as it is. All right. All right. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go in here. All right. And then let me see CD into Scholar app, because this is where the WSGI file should be. All right. So it is there, WSGI. All right. So let me CD out of there. All right. So I'm going to paste that as it is. And then I'm going to say Scholar app dot WSGI. All right. So if everything goes well, we don't have any errors, you should be able to go to your IP, port 8000 and check it out. Okay, so this actually is already on port 8000. So if I just refresh this, I will be where I should be. All right, and just double check that everything is okay. So this is similar to run server on Django, but it's actually different because now you're running it using GUnicorn, okay, which is a production level, sort of server to run your website. It's got multiple workers at the same time. So and it works with WSGI to run your application. So you're no longer running like in development, right? So you test all of this, and this looks good. All right. So once you've done that, let's continue. Deactivate. So you can actually stop this. All right, and then you can deactivate. All right, and then you're getting off the env that you're in. All right, so let us clear this. Let's continue with the tutorial. All right, so now what we're going to do is that we're going to use GUnicorn to create a system socket, all right, to be able to run our application on. All right, so we're going to create a file. All right, And this file is going to be, so sudo nano is nano creates a file, right? And it's going to be, this file is going to sit inside of the system files and under the Unicorn socket. All right, so let's just copy that as is and paste it in there. All right, I'm going to have to enter my password because of sudo. All right, and inside that file you need to enter this information as it's shown in there. All right, let me see. All right, and then we're going to close it, save yes. Shouldn't give you an issue if you opened it sudo. All right, and then after that we're going to now create a service file. Okay, a service file is one of those files. I mean, a service file is important for adding your your application into the service system of your your virtual machine. This means that if for some reason anything happens, your virtual machine goes down or there's maintenance or whatever, when the machine restarts, it goes through all of the service files to restart everything. So if your app is included in there, inside of all the service files will be rerun and then your application will restart. So this is very helpful for when like the server goes down and you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I must take note of each time the server went down for me to go back and restart my app. Okay, so the service file will take care of that. So we're going to create a service file like that. All right, sudo nano unicorn.service. And it's a new file. All right, and inside that file we're gonna save all of this information, some of it the unicorn.service. I think the rest of it is down here, so I'm going to make sure that I get the complete one, all right, which has everything in it, because the person is explaining bit by bit and adding more information to the file. So I'm gonna just copy it like that in there, and then I'm gonna paste it. But there's a couple of things I need to change. So I need to actually use my proper project directories. You'll see if you're reading this tutorial, all the sections that are highlighted in yellow, you need to replace with your own, okay? So actually what I should rather do is close this, but don't save it. So don't save that file. And then I'll copy this and paste it somewhere else. Let me find like a, something like that. Let me like a new note or something. And then paste it in here so I can make the changes, all right? So the first thing that you want to change is you want to change your username. Okay, so you need to put in the name of your username. So the current username I'm using on this virtual machine is Zatosh. Right, let me make sure I'm using the username Zatosh. Yes, so the current username is Zatosh, and then here you don't have to change anything. Working directory. So this directory is where your everything is, and this is where like your project directory is. All right, so I'm going to just go and find, let me see, ls. So where the manage.py file is, okay? So all of this, dev, Scholar app, and all of that, this is what I need to put in here. Home. All right, so instead of semi, I need to change this and put in a Zatosh. All right, so you need to go to home Zatosh, and then you go all the way there and you go to Scholar app, and that's the working directory. And you can see that there's no leading edge at the end. And then the executive start, so will be everything into the directory and then where your project environment is. All right, so I need to get the path to my env file. Okay, that's where this is going. All right, so and my env file is actually not in here, okay, because I created the env file outside of this. So I need to cd out of here. It doesn't matter, just as long as you get the path to the env file correctly. All right, so the env file is in here. All right, so I need to copy this and where's that? So all of that, right? So it goes into dev, Scolo, it goes into project env, but let me just get the name of the env file properly. So it's Scolo env. Let's copy that. This is very important. If you get the spelling wrong on these things, you're going to be looking for the problem for a long time. So you're going to get this right, okay? And then instead of semi over here, I am home Zatosh, all right? All right, and then all of this will be the same. Don't worry about it, all right? And then the other thing that you need to change over here is that you need to run WSGI application. So here you need to put in your project name, all right? and your project name will be the one that's inside your project directory, and that's where the WSGI file is. And then remember, you call our project a Scholar app, right? So instead of my project over here, you need to just replace this with Scholar app, right? And then after that, that's it. So the only things you need to change in this file is your username. All right, so I've changed my username there. It is Artosh, all right? And then I need to change this path to be the correct path where my working directory is. This is where your manage.py file is located, right? So if I go down this route, and you can always double make sure if you're not sure that you got the route right, because this is one of those things you don't want to get wrong. Oh goodness, I want to copy including the dash at the end over there. You can actually go and double check this route. So I'm going to cd back to the root and then cd and just paste that and make sure that it's, yes, I'm in the right place where the manage.py file is. Okay, so that's fine. And then I want to double check that if I go down this route, the second one, it takes me to where the env file is. All right, so let me copy the second route, which is this one over here. I just want to make sure that this one takes me to where the env file is inside of the where the bin would be, for example. So I'm going to cd again out of there, and then I'm going to cd that. All right, and then let's list, and I should be able to see the bin in here. All right, that's all right, that's all good. So at least I've got my files, my parts correctly. And then over here, obviously Scholar app is what it is. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to come in here and I need to open that GUnicorn service. Okay, so I'm using just the arrow up to get me back to where I was. Okay, sudo nano unicorn.service. All right, paste that in there and just double check everything is what it was. Yes, it should be correct, and click yes and close that file. And then once you've done that, let's go down a little bit, and we can now start and enable the unicorn socket. All right, so the only thing, so you can just copy this exactly as it is and paste it inside of your whatever, like that. And if you don't get an error, I'm assuming everything is good. We'll only find out if we can actually see our app running at the end. Created symlink, good. Then we go to the bottom, and then we need to check the status of our socket and see if it's running, and you should get an output that looks like that, right? So let's copy that and paste that. All right, there you go. With the green button, this means our unicorn is running and it's listening and it's doing everything correctly. The same when they've pasted this output, this is sort of our output. All right, next, check for the existence of the unicorn socket file inside of the run directory. All right, so let me see. So let's copy that and see that. Okay, so it runs whatever socket, so that's there. The output is exactly what it shows. If the system status command indicated an error occurred, and if you do not find the socket file in the directory as indication, check the socket logs by typing whatever. Okay, so we don't need to check the logs because everything is working fine, whatever. And then we need take another look at your whatever to fix any problems before continuing. Okay, so check if this is only if you have a problem. Okay, if everything is okay, we're good to go. All right, so testing socket activation. All right, so let's do that. I think isn't that what we just typed before? All right. Let me see. To test the socket activation mechanism, you can send a connection to the code, typing that system status, whatever. All right, which is what we've done before to check for that. All right. So now what we need to do is so every time you make changes, whatever, you need to reload GUnicorn. Okay, but for now, all of this is good, so I'm not worried. This is just checking the status, restarting. So if you make changes, for example, to your application, right? Like everything is finished now, but let's say we add the blogs. We add the blogs and we run migrations, we do everything, and we change the actual code of our app. Then we'd need to come back here and restart or reload GUnicorn, because GUnicorn is actually, once it runs, it's running on the file as is when it's running. So if you change the file, you need to maybe restart it to the new file. That's the only thing maybe you need to remember from this section, okay? The next thing that we're going to do now is we need to now use Nginx to, serve our GUnicorn, application, which means to serve our actual, web app or via Jinx. Okay, you should have installed Jinx as well if you followed my tutorial from the beginning. As I showed you, Jinx was one of the things you would have installed at the beginning. All right, and if you want to make sure that Jinx is there on your whatever, you can just sort of like cd that, and you should be able to find files in here. All right, but otherwise I'm going to cd out of here and I'm going to clear so that we can start at the top of this and we can do the Jinx stuff. All right, so the first thing is that you need to do this sudo nano. You need to create a new file for Jinx. Okay, and this is my project. You need to change this name to whatever your project is. Okay, so everything that's in yellow you need to change. Okay, so I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna call it, what are we gonna call it? Careers portal. Okay, careers portal. Okay, I'm gonna just have it as careers. Okay, so I don't know, so it's easy to spell. All right, so let's open it up. Okay, currently it's an empty file, and then we're gonna enter all the stuff that we wanna enter in here. And over there, they're showing you all the stuff that you need to have in there. All right, so you need to have like you know, you need to enter you know, server listen and you know, the domain name and wara, you know, and they show you all the stuff that you need to do. And let's go and look at the file. So the final file needs to look something like this. Okay, the important part, the real magic is over here. All right, this is where it goes and finds the G unicorn. All right, and obviously you need to have a direction. You know, you need to tell it where your static file is, and then obviously the root of your directory. You also need to get this correct. Okay, and then at the top here, this is your server IP. All right, or this is actually like your server name. So careersportal.co.za, this is what's gonna go in there. Okay, so I'm going to copy this file as it is. All right, there's a couple of, actually I'm instead of pasting it in here, I'm going to start like what I did earlier on, paste it in here so that I can make my changes before I paste it in the last one. All right, so this listen 80 and all of that, I want to change to look more like this. All right, the reason for this is because if you have like multiple, you know, apps running on your this just help, this is how I've always done it. When you have multiple apps, multiple websites, for example, running on off of one, you know, this sort of helps if you've written it like that. Okay, and the server name over here, I'm gonna have it like server name like that. Right, so let me copy that. So give it some space. All right, okay, so instead of that, my server name is gonna be what is it? Careers portal. All right, so this is the website that you're going to go into. Okay, the location of the fave icon. So assuming that the fave icon is going to be saved, I know my fave icon is definitely PNG. All right. All right, and it's saved in the root of your directory, you know, so you can leave that in there or you can change it later. It's fine. This is real. It's not very important. We can fix that later. And then the location of the static folder. Then you need to tell it where the static folder currently is located inside of your application. So this is important. We need to get this right. So I'm going to close this for now, and I'm gonna go and look for where everything is. All right. Alright, so my static folder is in here, is inside there. So let me just double check that. Project directory, and then it will be dash static. All right, that's fine. So I need to just copy that. So and paste it in there. All right, so this is not Semi again, this is Zatosh. All right, and inside, so it will look for the root of my project folder is here, is this Scholar app. All right, let me just make sure there's no ending thing at the end. All right, no, and it just ends with that. So it will search inside here, and it will search for a folder called static. Okay, and if I look over there, you'll see there is the folder called static. Let me see the static properly. You'll see that is the one, and then that is admin and app. All right, so So this is the correct path where the static is, and perhaps if the favor code.png, you would, yeah, put it somewhere else. Then the location of the GUnicorn include proxy parameters, proxy paths, HTTP, Unix, run, unicorn sock. All right. So I don't think we need to change that. Location. Let me see what I normally have in here in my other, but this one I'm loading. Yeah, I need to include this. All right. This. All right. I need to include that. This is like a 301 redirect. Okay, so this one ends in the, all right, so I need to put it right at the bottom. Okay, so what it does is that this is a 301 redirect. Okay, for careersportal.co.za. All right, so I'm basically creating two servers. Okay, I'm creating one for this one, careersportal.co.za, but I'm creating another one for www.careersportal.co.za, and I wanted to return a 301 redirect to careersportal.co.za. So let me just copy that. Not 30 digital. I wanted to return to careersportal.co.za. So all this does is that if somebody types www, it takes them back to Careers Portal. So this helps you not to have multiple websites. Otherwise, what we normally do is that we would have a server name. We would have server name as Careers Portal. So then we would have also www, and we would have two servers. All right, and the problem with that is that you're creating two copies of your website, and it used to be okay because some people will type www, some people will not type it, and then you don't want the people that type www to not find your website and find like the website doesn't exist. All right, so you would normally create both of them in here. You would have Careers Portal, then you'd have www Careers Portal, so that you can serve both of them. But what that creates is a problem. It actually creates two parallel websites. It creates a www website and it creates the non-www website. And then that's a problem for SEO because when Google ranks your website, when Google indexes your website, it indexes two copies of the same website, and then it doesn't know where to send people. So you're splitting your traffic between two websites, so maybe one would have gone to www, one would go, and then, your search volumes are different, right? And then, so what you want to do actually is create just one server, but also create just one server, but create for the allowance, or also accommodate the people that would have gone to www. That's why we're doing the 301 redirect. So that's what this is over here at the bottom. And okay, so I'm gonna remove this favor icon, okay, for now. All right, and then I'll just have it like that. All right, then let's copy that and go in here. Let's just cd out of here, and let's just go and find that sudo nano etc jinx that's available careers, and paste in here, and just double check everything is okay. Just your indentations are all right. Server name is that. Alright, so you might think, but why would the server name work? Remember, on our domains.co.za, where we have bought this server, we did appoint the the IP address A record to this specific virtual private server. Okay, so Jinx should be able to find that, right? So all you have to do is this, and if you've pointed your DNS records correctly, when you go to this server, you will find your website. And then the location over there should be all right. And I see over here, there's nothing I need to change over there. The only thing I needed to change. So this DigitalOcean tutorials are really well written. They even explain to you in yellow, the kind of things that you need to, to be specific, to specify. Maybe I should include this. All right. Yeah, perhaps let me include this, even though it's not there. But let me do that. So server name. Just above location of static. Let me just paste that. Okay, that's all right. So but I will have it as PNG, not ICO, and then I'll put it in later. Okay. All right. So once you've done that, so that's all you need to change. That's all you need to change. And then let us close our file, all right? To Control X to close it, say yes, that's okay. And then we need to then link the sites available to the sites enabled, which means we are now enabling our site. So this is just standard. All right, so let's do that. And then you won't see anything, but it's now also inside of sites enabled. Oh no. Okay, I copied that my project, so I need to, okay, I can't do that. So it's not my project, it's careers. It's very important, okay? Everything that you need to change is in yellow, okay? I don't know how I missed that. So this is careers, it should match that careers over there, all right? So if everything is linked correctly, so this is just a test that you do to just check that everything is okay inside of your files, so that before you restart in Jinx to rerun it, that you don't have any sort of typos or errors inside of your file itself. So it just checks for the configuration. The test failed. Oh yeah, because of this my project. Yeah, the one that I added in there. So I need to go in here. Sites enable, because it can't find the sites, whatever. All right, so let me CD in here. Yeah, this is the problem. Can I remove this? I don't know. I don't know if you can remove this, because now I don't know how to reverse this. Okay, permission denied. Okay, so it is removed. So let's CD out of here, and let us do our test again. Where is that test code for us? Do in Jinx, student Jinx -t. Okay, so everything is fine now. You should see that that your configuration test is successful. Okay, earlier on it was saying test failed, because when we were pushing this, we had that project whatever, but it didn't exist on the other side. So this is just linking from the sites available to the sites enabled, and we have already in the sites available had created a file for that, but there wasn't a file for this, so that's why we're having a problem with that. So let us clear this and let us see what we need to do. All right, so what I need to do is to allow Jinx full, but I don't think I have UFW installed in my rules updated. Okay, that's fine. So this just gives Jinx full permission over your whatever, but I don't want to delete port 8000 yet, because I'm still going to be making changes to my thing. So I'm gonna not delete that. Moment of truth. All right, if everything goes well, if everything is working at this point, if you go to careersportal.co.za, you should find your website. Okay, let's try it. Oh no. Okay, so careersportal.co.za, welcome to Jinx. Website that's installed and working. Further configuration is required. So it looks like you just had to give it a bit of time. Switched off the camera, waited a little bit. I tried a couple of things, but I actually didn't change anything. If you look at my configuration file, it's exactly the same. All right, so you can close this file. Perhaps the only thing that I had to remember was to restart in Jinx. Okay, so that's something that maybe I didn't do the first time. So you need to make sure that you restart in Jinx before it can pick up the changes. And then I went to my careers portal. This is careersportal.co.za, and I restarted it. And there's my website. So the website is officially deployed off of Careers Portal. If I go to jobs, it'll be Careers Portal.jobs. There it is. So my website is good at running, but I don't like this. Okay, not secure, really, really bad. And this is actually very easy to fix. I still scratch my head sometimes when I come across a website that doesn't have an SSL certificate, because it is not that complicated actually. And nowadays you get free SSL certificates. It's not rocket science to get this done. Okay. Just a couple lines of code. So there's another tutorial I'll show you over here how to fix this. All right, we're going to use a setbot. All right, we're going to use Nginx setbot to do this. All right, so this is just a process to get it installed, and then after it's installed, you just sort of like run it for your whatever, and then it's going to work. Okay, so I'm going to copy this to have it installed. All right, so there it is. Yes, you can install it. All right, and then it's going to install it very, very quickly. And then once you've installed certbot, you just sort of like, create your website, and then that's it. All right, so I'll link, maybe there's no need to link this whole tutorial. All you need to remember is just this line of code to install certbot, because once it's installed, this is what you need to run to install the certificate. All right, so I'm gonna copy it, I'm gonna clear it in this, and then I'm gonna paste it in there, and you can see. All right, it's sudo setbot, and you're using Nginx. All right, and then you put in your domain and www domain. That's all. Right, so my domain is careers portal. Okay, just make sure your spelling is right. That's careersportal.co.za, and then in www of the same thing. Okay, usually we have to cover for both that and www.careersportal.co.za, and then you click enter. All right. You need to enter an email address to be used for renewal thingies. If the first time you're using Certbot, it's going to ask you of this. So I'm going to enter admin@scholar.online. All right, then you have to agree to the terms of service for using this. You can say agree. All right. Would you be willing to share your email address with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF? Yes. All right. It's obtaining a new certificate. It's going to do some challenges. It's going to make sure that your website is there, that you own your website, but it's easy to do that because it should be hosted on the same server that you're running this from. So that's what it's doing. And after it's done all of that, it's going to come back and say, you have an option to redirect or not redirect. I always pick number 2 over here. All right. And then it's going to go and it's going to install Certbot. That's it. Okay. This process doesn't work if you don't have the IP address of your domain pointing. So if, for example, you had done this on domains to get your IP pointed here, but when you tried this, it didn't find it because it's still propagating. That sometimes happens. You just have to give it time. After the propagation has happened, you must actually run your website to make sure your website runs without the certificate, so that Certbot will be able to find that domain inside of the of your VPS. So once you've done that, then when you run this, it goes without a hitch. All right. Then you just go back to your domain, and if you restart this, it will redirect it to it's saying your connection is not private. Okay, so finally I've managed to fix the problem. You'll see over there, this is careersportal.co.za, and it has a key in front of it without warnings. So this is what we were getting before when we installed the SSL certificate. And then after a couple of troubleshooting, I fixed it. It's now HTTPS, all right, without an issue. So this is where the problem was, all right, because when we created the server, we created that server, and then we had created another server at the bottom for www, returning the 301 scheme careers portal, all right. So what that was doing was that when we went to the second method, and when we went to install the SSL, and we allowed for them for Certbot to manage our Nginx file, what it did is that it installed the certificate under that server and installed another certificate under that server. All right, and then it just managed that if anybody does not enter an SSL HTTPS, it will take them to the HTTP. So it ended up installing 2 certificates, and obviously then that confuses your browser. Your browser sees that and it sends you a warning. The website is still there, but the browser doesn't allow you to get to it because the website is sending 2 different SSL certificates. So what I did, I deleted the second server. You'll see over there was 2 big server blocks. So I deleted the second one and I added it at the end without this part. All right. So it had already done all of this, and I deleted all of that, and I only have server name careers portal, return 301. I think there was a bit of a typo over here, so just change that to careers portal.co.za. So this is a 301 redirect for that. Okay. Then after that, where you had the server block that was added by Certbot, this is sending If somebody entered careers portal without a HTTPS, return HTTPS. And if they entered www without HTTPS, return HTTPS. All right. This is what this is doing, and for both these servers. So I edited this as well to do that. Now to prevent this from happening in the future. Okay, to prevent this, because it's going to take a while to try and figure out what you need to change if you're not taking a snapshot of my screen right now. What you need to be doing is that in the future, just do one server name, all right? And after you've done one server name, then install certbot and install the SSL. Then only after you've done that, then do the 301 redirect. Because in 301 redirect, it will be relevant whether the 301, whether they entered SSL or not. The 301 redirect will send them to the other website, and then it will be covered by this, and then it will get there. So don't put in the 301 redirect before you allow certbot to edit your Nginx file, because this is the problem that it created. But luckily, I did this in front of you, and then you were able to see it, and it didn't happen with me not doing it at the same time. Because usually I end up updating the 301 redirect after, usually when I'm doing my sort of like my website optimizations with SEO, then I do this, all right? So do the 301 redirect after you've installed certbot, because otherwise certbot is going to mess up your file and you're going to end up with that problem. Nonetheless, our website is amazing, guys. I mean, look at it. This is it. Another important thing, if you've used this template from theme design, all right, like I've done, you have to keep that link at the bottom, okay? You can't remove it because you haven't bought the template. I didn't buy this template, so I'm going to keep this at the bottom. But if at some point I decide to buy it, then I can remove it, okay? So if you downloaded it like me, you have to keep that at the bottom. That's important. And obviously, I've added another link of my own. All right, we're a web design company, Tati Digital, guys. If you have any web development needs, you can always get in touch with me. Send me an email, admin@scholar.online, and we can help you out. A couple of people have reached out to me from this channel, and I've helped them out create websites. If you feel like this is too much work, you'd rather just pay somebody to do it for you, you're welcome to talk to us, and we will do it for you. But if you want to learn, that's what we're here for, to teach you guys. I think this is going to be the end of this tutorial series. But we will have another video where we're doing the Instagram automation. Okay, if you remember, during the week we do Twitter automation for this. We will do the same for Instagram automation, because I think with a website like this, it's very, very important that you create a schedule for regular tweets and regular Instagram updates, that you don't forget to keep your social media up and running with the information, so that your audience is engaged and you grow your following. Because if you can get your following from social media, that's how you're going to also help to drive your traffic. And if you get your hashtags right, it's just a matter of time with the regular tweeting and Instagramming that you're going to get the audience that you need. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for being with us in this whole tutorial series. I think one more lecture for Instagram automation, and then we're going to be done with this.